So it's still a bit quiet at the cinema, which is really no surprise, and is going to be the exact words I say probably at least for the rest of the year. But Mark did manage to track down the latest Kenneth Branagh Hercule Poirot Agatha Christie romp. I haven't seen the second one yet. I enjoyed the first one.
The second one. First one was okay.
I enjoyed the first one, but I just enjoyed it. I didn't go, oh my God, I need to see loads of these. But I have been.
You wanted to see more of his moustache, though, didn't you?
How he got the moustache? Anyway, I mean,
that's an Agatha Christie mystery right there.
Yeah, it's not. I have to say, it hasn't been like Knives Out. Oh, I'm quite interested in Knives Out too. Haunting in Venice, from the sounds of the style, that's actually got me intrigued, Mark. Although you peg it as the last on the list.
No.
Okay, just checking. Tell us about it anyway.
So speaking from someone who is talking to you right this minute from the very village from which Agatha Christie's most famous heroine drew her name, that's right, Marple. Hercule Poirot returns, or more importantly, Kenneth Branagh's Hercule Poirot returns. What was interesting about this is, like you said, the first film was a romp. It was back to the David Suchet 70s Hollywood glamour, ultra A-list whodunit. The second one, Death on the Nile, was something slightly different. It went a little bit darker. It started off with that incredibly bizarre prologue that told you as much about Poirot's mustache as it did about how terrible the First World War was. But this one, again, he's pushed the boat out and he's taking it in another avenue. Now, I think the first thing to note here is from the trailers, from a lot of the reviews, you'd go into this thinking this is some kind of horror film. It's not. I wish it was, but it isn't. What it is it is packed full of all the iconography, all the style, all the visual and audio tropes of the genre. But just because it looks like a horror film and just because it sounds like a horror film does not a horror film make. Its plot is based on a little-known novel called Halloween Party, which I haven't read. But it is 1947. Poirot is in Venice. He is dragged from his stupor, for which we know not why or what the cause is, by Tina Fey's author, who is an old friend of his. And she drags him to a seance because she believes that the clairvoyant, the spiritualist, played by Michelle Yeoh, is the real deal. So she begs Poirot to come along to debunk her, to give her something to write about in her new novel. So it's Halloween, it's Venice. They get dragged along to this seance in this huge abandoned Gothic ex-orphanage. And lo and behold, a murder happens.
Who'd have thought it?
Poirot shuts the door and says, no one's leaving until I solve this. And so we settle in for a hugely stylistic. I mean, it's incredibly stylistic what he's done here. Literally every shot, there isn't a shot that is straight on at a member of the cast. Every opportunity to look down at a skewed angle, to look up across someone is taken. And even within that, none of the cast are ever central in frame. They're always off like this. And it's a really strange feeling because...
we should all do that.
We should all do that. Just sit like that. For those listening, this is great podcasting. but as not just an aesthetic, but as a mood enhancer, it's always drawing you to look past the characters. So it's full of these little stylish ticks, and it's incredibly handsome. Branagh has done a bang-up job in giving this a gorgeous aesthetic. Unfortunately, he didn't do a bang-up job with the actual narrative or the mystery. Now, much like Death on the Nile, it spends far too long setting the characters, setting the mood, setting the mystery up. And it feels then like you gallop through the meat of it. It's not a body count film. Agatha Christie was the grandmother of the body count work. She invented the body count, as it were. And in this one, I mean, I don't want to go into spoilers, about how many bodies actually crop up in it. But it gives it makes the narrative slight. There's not enough to it to really sustain interest in the story, which is a real shame because I so wanted to like this. Honestly, from those opening shots of a gothically empty, fog-bound Venice, and there is a jump scare after like 30 seconds, which blimey Charlie wasn't expecting. And I thought, I'm in for this. I am ready. Come on, Sir Ken, make me pap myself. And unfortunately, he didn't. It's still well worth seeing for people who like whodunits. The cast is good. And yes, I even include Jamie Dornan in that, who I've managed to just about forgive for Heart of Stone. It's worth seeing if you enjoy these kind of movies, but it is a shame that the narrative, it feels like an afterthought in what should have been, the backbone, the spine of the whole film. And now I on my letterbox, I gave Murder an 8 out of 10. I gave Death a 6 out of 10, and I give this a 6 out of 10. I think it is as good as Death on the Nile. It suffers from a lot of the same issues of Death on the Nile. That again took some strange, anachronistic left turns in its style and spent too long setting up the characters and galloped through the meat of its mystery. And it's the same here. Different setting, different style, different mood, different atmosphere, but similar kind of problems. I still enjoyed it. I'm glad I went to see it. It's probably a streaming view for most people, and I'm sure it'll be on Disney Plus by the end of the year. So don't be put off by my score. It's still solid stuff, but it is very much more of the same from Death on the Nile. So